Yeah, I've talked about this before, quite a while back. This is an ash tree. If you see right in the middle of the screen, you see that little white thing. It's one of the sort of a mushroom growths that get on an ash. And this one's got quite a few of them on right up above that fork area. But the tree itself is a really big tree. Now, when that happens on them, what it means is someplace up there, well, I can see right where it was, a branch broke off and it started rotting down. And it'll rot all the way to the ground if you give it time. So as long as I'm back in here, I'm still working on the stream bed, I'm going to take that big ash out of there. Because the bottom, well, hopefully maybe 15 feet will be good solid wood. But if you let them go, they'll rot all the way to the bottom. There's another that curved one there. It's got the same thing on it. And there was one next to it that was the same way. But when you see those ash, they are doomed. So you pretty much got to take them out of there. Yeah, this is an ash I'm pulling out now, but I actually have to cut it in two. It's too long to make the corner. But that's firewood for next year because that one's stone dead. And that was rotted all the way to the bottom and just finally broke. But I'm getting toward the end of my stream just around the corner there. And this is really kind of the end of where I'll be taking trees out. But I've got probably a dozen trees back here that have to go. Because even there's a basswood that I need to take because it's dead and just getting in the way. So this year, as long as I get back in here, this is the year to do them. But like I say, what I'm really back here looking for is basswood. So it's nice to find those. But, when I run across an ash like this, of course, I'm going to take it because I like working with ash, and if I can get some good pieces, this one's pretty gnarly, but like that one, I think I can get some good boards out of that. So I take them. But basswood is what I'm after at this point because I want to be able to let them sit for a while. But it brings to mind I've got some basswood that I pulled out last year. I think I did a film of that on the same sort of situation, but I've never been able to work up this far before. But that basswood I have sitting, and I'm going to bring that home because I have a project I want to do with that particular one. I've always thought about making one of the big immigrant trunks that a lot of the Scandinavians, when they came over, all their possessions were packed in a trunk. And you see them like in the museums and stuff. And they're usually made out of pretty soft wood, and I think basswood would be ideal for that. Because I could make it out of ash, but it'd be rather heavy. So I'm thinking basswood, easy to work with, nice straight grain. But it reminds me, I keep getting requests for patterns for things, plans on how I built this or how you build that, or even like when I did this holster for the Nagant, somebody wanted, plans for that, a pattern. Well, I don't use patterns, just like I don't use recipes. I just build what I need, and it's a kind of a one-off deal. Even in my weaving, it's that way. I don't make. I dislike making multiples of anything, and if I do it, I have to do it at the time. I can't go back later. Like somebody says, they'll see one and they say, "Oh, can you make another one just like that?" Well, probably not, because the materials I'm working with, there isn't, a whole bunch of the same material. I don't like doing that. I think everything should stand on its own merits. But I had somebody that's been asking for plans on how to build a loom like my old loom. Now, I didn't build that. That's a couple hundred years old. And I'm sure the guy who built it didn't have plans. You know, you have to learn how to work with the wood and know what you need and kind of let the project evolve as you go along. You know, so I don't do plans. I don't do videos, you know, how-to videos saying, okay, make it this size or make it that size. In fact, most of the stuff when I'm working on it, I'm not really measuring inch-wise. It doesn't matter. I could be using meters or inches or cubits. It doesn't matter. You know, I just if I'm trying to make two pieces that are the same, it makes no difference what size they are as long as they're the same. You know, that's all I'm trying for. So I don't measure things. Not in that way, just in a comparative way. There's no standard, like say if you're making a table, I make the table to fit me, like this holster. I made this holster to fit me and to fit the gun. There's no standard. You know, it's whatever you need or want it to be. And it depends on the materials you use. You know, because even in leather work, you know, materials different. Like where the leather came from on a beast makes a difference on the leather. And like say if you take a leather hide that's flat, get it wet and let it dry, it'll try to shape back into a cow. You know, there's a natural shape to things. I always think back, the Inuit used to use like say the leg of a caribou for making a mukluk. And you know how it's got like a hawk there, you know, it comes down and it turns, and they would use that for the heel. You know, they would use their material to their advantage. And that's kind of what you have to do. You let the material guide you. It's not like working with plastics or, you know, like I always think of cabinet makers. I mean, we've got a lot of cabinet makers around here, but that isn't what cabinet makers used to be. You know, they used to work with actual wood. Now it's like particle board and they're just milling it out and, you know, it's altogether different. And that's how that old loom was made in that way. You know, he used the wood that he had and the knowledge that he had. And a plan isn't going to help somebody. You know, a plan, the best a plan could do would allow you to make a very poor copy of the original, because you'd never be able to, like that wood is old growth wood, you'd never be able to find that, so somebody'd end up using 2x4s, which are not the same. You have to know your materials and how to work with your materials. And that's not something that you can get from a plan. You have to work it out. You have to make bad things. You learn the hard way. You make a few mistakes, but as you go along, you make fewer mistakes all the time. But there's no way that a plan can. You know, people will always try to make a shortcut on stuff. You know, it would be hard for somebody to actually follow a plan to do that. But people feel that if they have the measurements of something, they can do it. And honestly, if you had the ability to do it already, a plan, you don't need a plan. It's like somebody who knows how to cook doesn't really need a recipe, because you know what belongs in what proportions. It gives you more flexibility. So, like I said, I'm not going to start doing plans on things. You know, because I know I've done it in the past. Like if somebody wants a plan for loom, there are plenty of them around, including ones that are made out of PVC pipe. You know, that which freaked me out. But you can find old looms too. I mean, they're around if you know where to look for them. I used to run across them all the time. I still do. I mean, I've got more looms than I know what to do with, because I keep turning them up when I go around. You know, they always turn up. But it's not something that you can think that you can you can just follow a plan and make one and make it work. You know, you don't know what kind of road you're going down there. I don't want to really discourage somebody from doing it. I would discourage you from counting too much on a plan. You know, even if you have a plan, you have to adopt it to your needs and to your materials, because you know, like people when they built things, they used to know to use the right wood in the right place. Each wood has a best purpose for it, and that tends to get ignored now. You know, I even see like when I look at flyers from the lumber yards, and it says, you know, they have 2x4s of assorted species. Well, I kind of want to know, you know, I don't want this generic wood, but that's how it's kind of sold now. So I prefer, you know, to use my own wood, but I don't buy much in the way of dimensional lumber. For one thing, it's just really expensive, and I'm never as happy with a project. If you buy the wood, you're never as happy as if you could do it out of the wood that you have, that you've known the tree, and you know the board, and it goes into your project. I feel better about things like that. But the idea of a plan, you know, there's really, like I say, there are ones available, and I know I found them even on eBay. And some of them are, you know, they're just the dimensions of old looms, very similar to my old loom. And I have actually given copies of that to people, though I hate to do it because somebody went to the trouble of measuring something, and you know, so that's their project, and they can sell them. But of all the people who have taken pictures of my loom and done drawings of the loom and stuff, there has never been a loom made yet. You know, it's a good idea, but you have to know your limitations going into that. You know, you can kind of get ahead of yourself there. You know, it's a nice thought, but if you really want to weave, you'd be a lot better off to find an old loom someplace. Because like I said, they turn up. But it's true on anything, you know. You have to know what you're getting into. And I just see too many times, you know, people. Well, I don't know what the answer is there, but it's not as simple as it appears. But I don't want to discourage people from doing their own stuff. But don't expect to do the perfect thing right away. You're going to make some mistakes, and that's perfectly acceptable. You know, the idea that you can get a plan and make a perfect thing, that is unacceptable. But, you know, good luck to people trying. At least they're trying. But like I say, really, if you have the ability to do this, you don't need plans. I don't use plans for anything. You know, and I'm not saying I have this marvelous ability. I don't want to make, you know, sound that way. It's just that I've done this stuff a lot, and I've done a lot of things wrong. And that's what taught me how to do them right. And I'm not going to do like how-to videos saying, you know, because I see this all the time where people do a video, this, you know, how to do this. I'll do how I did this, but I won't tell you how to do it. You know, that's something you have to learn the hard way. But, you know, I admire people who can do stuff. But the idea, you know, that somebody thinks that you can actually just follow a plan and you'll end up with this ideal thing that you're dreaming of, it really doesn't work that way. But good luck and good trying.